Hello, my name is Dominique and this is Homesteading for Three if you are new, and welcome to garden season 2024. If you're not sure where I am right now, I am in my basement, which is an unfinished basement, has the, I don't know what you want to call it, like cement walls, but not the flat cement. It's like not great. But anyway, this is going to be my seed starting area this year. If you were with me last year when I started my seeds, I was actually in my craft room upstairs, but I have since moved my office from my guest bedroom with a cloffice, in the office in the closet, to my craft room. So I don't want to put my seeds in there because the fish fertilizer that I use for my seedlings stinks a lot. So I am going to do it down here. It is a little cold in here, but my little seed starting shelf units do come with the greenhouse thing that goes around it and zips up. So what I'm going to do is, I think at night I will zip them up so the heat stays inside them. And then I'll have it open with a fan on it during the day when it's a little warmer, because right now in the middle of the day it's 55 degrees right now. We did just have some days where it was in the 20s and 30s. I live in Wisconsin, if you don't know. So it's a cold climate, but it's now March, so hopefully it'll be starting to warm up soon enough, and hopefully I can keep them warm enough down here. I do have heat mats as well for getting them to germinate initially, so if I have to, I can always put a heat mat like on the bottom shelf, like where there isn't any plants, because you don't want to put them on the heat mat after they've germinated, and then maybe that'll be enough to keep the whole greenhouse warm when it's all zipped up. So that's the plan. I have a big mess here. I've been buying new supplies, and then I have some seed starting stuff from last year. I have my grow lights, and then I have some stuff that doesn't need to be in here, like that's just garbage that needs to be moved. So I am going to get this area cleaned up, get my shelves set up where I want them, and then we can start some seeds. Okay, I got the shelves and this table, which is really 3 sawhorses and a door in the places that I want them. I had to go get a coat because it's kind of cold down here. It's not like, it'll be fine with, I think, the seedlings in the greenhouse things. It's this thing that goes around it and it zips up. So we'll see, but I will have thermometers in the soil. So if it's not warm enough, worst case scenario, I can move it upstairs. Now the amount of stuff that I have over here is starting to feel very overwhelming to me. I have a bunch of pots and trays, and I have my heat mat, my other greenhouse cover, fertilizers, I have seed starting mix. Like, I need to sort this first, I think, because that's going to make it feel a little bit less overwhelming. So that's what I'm going to start with. All right, some progress has been made. So we have our greenhouse covers on. This one's a little more worn because it's a couple years old. This one is brand new as of this year, but they will both work. So I figured out I have enough trays to do, like, if I do them this way, last year I did them just like this until it got towards the end and I was running out of room. So I did them this way. So I'm going to try to squeeze as many in here as I can because I'm doing a lot of flowers this year and I'm going to need the space. But I have enough trays to do 2 on each shelf, all except the bottom shelves. So right now I have some blood meal and 20-20-20 plant food, some pots, my humidity domes, although I only have 3, so if I need more, I'll just use saran wrap. That's not a big deal. And then some more pots over there as well. So I think once I'm like have everything planted, I'll have those pots and fertilizer not there. So my plan at this point is to use I have 2 heat mats that are this big. So they're about a little bigger than the size of one of these trays. But I'm gonna try to see if I just lay one across the long way with 2 trays on it the other way, that it will hopefully heat up all of them enough. But I do have like, it comes with a little thermometer that you stick in the soil so you can see if it's warm enough. So I can always adjust. But my plan is to use these for germinating on the table, which I still have to clear off. And then once they sprout, moving them under the grow lights. And then once they're all sprouted and I don't need the heat mats anymore, I'm planning on putting the heat mats on the bottom shelves with nothing on them. And then at night when I seal up the greenhouses, it'll hopefully help to keep more heat in those greenhouses when it gets a little colder at night. So that's my plan as of right now. I do have a fan as well that I'll be setting up, because super important that you have a fan and air circulation so that the stems get strong. My seedlings looked so good last year. My only issue was they got way too big, and I think I planted way too early, and they did too well to the point where they needed to go outside and it wasn't warm enough outside yet for them. So I'm gonna be looking. I did make a whole garden plan, but I'm gonna look at my calendar from last year and see when did I start specifically my tomatoes and my peppers were the 2 that were huge, so that I can make sure that I'm planting them later this year. So that's my goal here. Okay. And then I did want to show you too, this is kind of fun. I was kind of itching to start growing things, and it wasn't quite time yet. Oh, I just spilled water. But I am not growing any celery from seed this year, but I bought celery from the store and I took the end and the bottom and I put it in a bowl of water so that it could start growing more. If you didn't know you could do that, you can do that. So I made celery from other celery. So I think it's so cute. It's starting to, like, the ends of the leaves are starting to get lighter because I know it needs nutrient. It was this really pretty rich green color, but some of the leaves are turning white. So I will be fertilizing this. I just up potted this from the bowl of water it was in to this. This is just seed starting, so it does need more nutrients. So I will be fertilizing this, but once I get the grow light set up, I'll put it under there and see how it does. Okay, so for my grow lights, in my experience, you need grow lights. You don't need super fancy expensive ones. I've heard that they're better, but these are ones where I got 8 of these. They're 2 feet long. They're super bright, and I got 8 of them for $80 on Amazon, so $10 each. I know at like our Menards, which is our Midwest version of Home Depot, but better. If you know what that is. If you don't live in the Midwest, that's what it is. But anyway, though, at that store, they're like $20 each. So it's a lot cheaper on Amazon. I will link the ones below that I have. But what I did last year that worked really well is I found these little chains at the hardware store as well. And then I just used these little S hooks. So they look, oh, I dropped one. They look like an S. And then you put it in the loop here and you clamp one side so it doesn't come off. But that way, as the seedlings get bigger, I can adjust the chain shorter so that I can make the lights go up. So I'm gonna start setting these up on the shelves, and yeah. I also forgot to mention, so some of these trays are old and dirty from last year. I will be cleaning and sanitizing these before I put things in them, as well as my little 6-cell things. These are just cheap ones I got on Amazon. I would love to get the Epic Gardening 6-cell trays because those are awesome and they're way more high quality. Like you can see, these are just the cheap ones that crinkle. But this is what I have for now. And we're gonna make it work. But I will clean all these out and sanitize them with vinegar and like a vinegar and water solution that I've seen people do online. But I'm gonna get everything ready first before I do any of that. So I got the grow lights like set up kind of. I just haven't plugged them in yet. And I thought I was going to need a super long extension cord to get me from here all the way over there to that outlet because I didn't know we had another one in the basement. But look what I found. There's one on the ceiling. And it has an extension cord connected to it already. So I'm going to pull this down and plug these in and see if they all work still. Oh my gosh, it works. So as you can see, they're pretty bright. I don't know if you can tell, but they are pretty bright. So I think like last year I actually had 2 grow lights on each shelf, but I think 1 grow light is gonna be bright enough for all of these. When I plant things in here, I'll probably lower this a little bit because you really only want it to be like a couple inches away from the seedlings, and then I can move them up as they grow. But oh, I'm excited. All right, the other one works as well. I know these are crooked. I'll fix them. I need to find, because I do have 2 outlets here, so I guess if I just find a second extension cord, then they'll both be able to be plugged in at once. Or if I can find an extension cord with a 2 outlet thing on the other side, I'll do that, but I gotta find it. All right, so I set up my heat mats so they're ready for when I'm ready to seed start. It looks like because this probe is just like in the air, it's not in the soil. It looks like it's just under 60 degrees. Oh, just hit 60. So it's going up a little bit, but so the cord situation, I have 2 outlets. One of them is hooked up to the light so that my celery can be under it, and one is hooked up one is hooked up to the heat mat so that when I start my first seeds, my first tray of seeds, it can be on there. I'm gonna need eventually to have 4 things plugged in, because I'll need this light setup plugged in, this light setup plugged in, and then each heat mat. All of these lights are connected to each other, so I disconnected this one from this one because I don't need all 3 shelves lit up yet, but I only need 1 plug or 1 outlet for all 3 of these lights that are here. Same with this side. So in total, I'm gonna need a total of 4 outlets. So I'm probably gonna need to get a power strip. I think that's the way that's going to work best down here, so that I can use this outlet and not have to run a long extension cord all the way over to the other outlet on the other side. So super excited about the progress we made today. I am going to do my seed starting in my next video because I need to look at my calendar from last year and see when did I start my peppers and tomatoes, because I don't want to start them too early like I did last year. So I am going to take this fish fertilizer, which stinks, and all you do is you add 2 tablespoons. Well, it has like it writes it on the side, but for vegetables, 2 tablespoons into 1 gallon of water. So I have to figure out, this is 500 mLs, I think. Like 30 ounces. So I have to see how many ounces, how much I need to put in, you know what I mean? Okay, so 128 ounces in a gallon. This is 30 ounces, so I'm gonna put roughly half a tablespoon, which is a quarter of the amount that you would put into a gallon. I think I did the math right. Yeah, this stuff is super, super stinky, so I wanna make sure this is the last thing I do in the basement before I go upstairs, because it's gonna stink down here for a little bit. Luckily, we don't do our laundry down here or anything. It's literally just storage. Like, this whole basement is just storage and my pantry, which I will be doing a pantry tour soon, by the way. But I am going to mix this up in this spray bottle, which is water, and then we'll feed our celery. And I'll go back upstairs and do some research on when I should actually start my tomatoes and peppers. The best way I can describe this stuff is it looks like chocolate sauce. I have it at the bottom there. It's gonna mix together. Looks like chocolate sauce. Smells like dead fish, like rotten fish. Like, it's really not good. I'm plugging my nose so I don't smell it. So then you just mix it up. And for this instance, normally I fill up these, I have old milk jugs that I did. And And what I'll do is I'll fill a gallon of water, add the fresh fertilizer, and then I bottom water actually usually. So I'll fill the bottom of this tray with water, and then the 6 cells or these or whatever size pot will be in here, and the pot has holes in the bottom so it'll suck the water up. And I had a lot of really good luck with that because number one, it took longer for the water to be used up, so I didn't have to water every single day. And I get algae on the top a lot. I would get algae growing on the top, so I had to use like cinnamon to try to get rid of it. And the bottom watering helped because then there wasn't water sitting all the way at the top, growing algae on it. So that's what I would do. Okay, this looks mixed up, so you can see it's kind of like a brownish color once it's all mixed up. I am going to try to saturate this pretty well with it. This probably isn't the best method using a spray bottle, but it'll be nice when my seedlings are little and I just want to give them a little bit of, something. All right, hopefully that celery ends up turning a lot greener and darker and richer. If not, it's not the end of the world. I mean, as a gardener, you go through a lot of failures. This is my first time trying to make celery from other celery. Last year I started celery from seed and it did not do well. Whatever one I purchased, whatever the seed I bought, for some reason had a really low germination rate. So I planted 12 and I only got 2 of them to germinate, and then one of them died in between germinating and getting into the garden. So I had 1 celery plant that survived. But we'll see what happens. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It was a lot of fun getting this set up. It's kind of a weight lifted off my head or my mind, knowing that it's all ready for me when I am ready. I just need to figure out. I did make a whole garden plan which I'll go through with you all. But I might need to tweak it a little bit because I hadn't thought about how my tomatoes and peppers, I feel like, needed to be started later last year, and I was going off of the same recommendations and guidelines for my area as what I did this year. So I might just do it later than it says I'm supposed to and see what happens. Or maybe I'll start some tomatoes and peppers soon and then another set 2 weeks later. I don't know. I do have to be pretty careful about my space because I have these 2 shelving units, which is double the space that I had last year. But I am doing a lot more flowers this year and just a lot more things in general. So we'll make it work. At least we have this table this year. We didn't have that last year, so that'll be really nice. But I really appreciate you hanging out with me. I'm really excited for what this year has to offer, and we do have a future video where we'll be setting up the whole irrigation system in our garden. My garden was not irrigated last year at all, so super excited, and I think we'll have a lot more successes this year, hopefully, fingers crossed. So thank you so much. I hope you have an awesome day.